Awesome. Here we are in a little bit of a different space.
It is different, yeah.
But hopefully different in a good way. We've been blessed with some great equipment to help with lighting and sound. So hopefully those little differences help us engage. So, and yeah, encouraged to hear that lots of people are still connecting through these videos and finding this helpful, and that's our goal. So again, we're going to get into a passage that in light of our sermon series is a story that's worth sharing.
It's a powerful story.
Yeah, definitely. And it's powerful for a lot of reasons, but I think that what we're going to really focus on is that nothing is impossible
Amen.
For Jesus, and a seemingly impossible situation, and actually several throughout this area in Scripture, Jesus steps in and makes a massive difference. And yeah, so we're going to get into that. So why don't you take a read through Mark chapter 5, verse 1 to 20, and if we can tease you a little bit, then take a bit of a read about the story of Jesus calming the storm right before Mark chapter 5. It's right at the end of Mark chapter 4, because we'll refer to that a little bit too. So hit pause, take a read, and then we'll jump into it. Great. So as you read and hopefully checked out the story of Jesus calming the storm, Jesus, it says that he got into a boat and was headed, he said, let's go to the other side. And he takes a nap on the way, which I'm sure Jesus took a lot of naps because his life was pretty tiring and demanding. But so he takes a nap and a storm comes. And I'm sure Jesus had experienced many storms in his life. This was nothing new. But this particular one he chooses to rebuke and speaks against it, specifically telling it to stop. And then they safely reach the other side. And what follows is Jesus interacting with this man who has a lot of issues. And so we'll get into that in a second, but I just want to, before we jump in, just talk about how Jesus had purpose in what he did. And yeah, he said to his disciples, let's go to the other side. And what we'll realize in this story is that Jesus went to the other side for one person.
Yeah.
This one man, he went to the other side, and the storm tried to stop him, and he spoke against a storm, what seemed impossible. He silenced it in order to get to the other side, to meet with this man that this story is going to be about. And that's amazing. That Jesus, he knew his purpose and he had his purpose. And what we're going to see by the end of this story is that we have a purpose too. And Jesus gives this man a purpose because he has a purpose, and he gives us a purpose too. But why don't you talk a little bit, Ray, about the impossibilities?
Yeah, I mean, this passage is right in the middle of what we see 4 impossible situations.
Yeah.
You know, first of all, there's the storm, and just commenting a little bit about the storm and going to the other side, that Jesus had a strategy, and he had a strategy far beyond just healing this guy, which was an awesome miracle, as we discover. But if you read the end, verse 19 and 20, and we'll talk a little bit more about that on Sunday, but that he had a bigger purpose even than just freeing this man from all the demonic activity.
Yeah.
He actually had a mission
that
was going to be accomplished through this guy. And I think that's awesome. And that's why he wasn't worried about the storm. He was determined he was going to get there.
Yeah.
And it was more the lack of faith of the other disciples, these seasoned fishermen who are now caught in a storm, which they've probably been in all along.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was impossible situations. Here we have the storm, and then we have Jesus encountering the demoniac, and we'll talk a bit more about that. But then if you follow through the rest of chapter 5, he encounters the woman with the issue of blood.
Yeah.
And then right after that, we have the synagogue official, or Jairus,
Yeah.
his daughter, who has died.
Yeah.
So we see Jesus facing 4 impossible situations.
Yeah.
The storm, the demons, the disease,
Yeah.
and the death.
Yeah.
And I think what it shows us all the way through, and I think this is part of what the writer wants us to see, is that Jesus is more than capable of any impossible situation.
Yeah.
He's the master of the deep.
Yeah.
He's the master of the demons. He's the master of disease.
Yeah.
And he's the master of death.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the encouragement that we can see in this.
Totally.
And there's so much more that's wrapped up in this. But take the whole context of a chapter and a half, and we see that there is nothing that Jesus can't do.
Yeah.
There is no impossible situation that can be in our lives or that we can encounter in our journey that he is not capable of encountering and doing.
Yeah.
He is able to do exceeding abundantly, beyond what we can imagine or think. And as one writer says that, one translation says, beyond our wildest dreams.
Yeah.
He's able to do that according to the power that's available to us and in us.
Yeah.
And so, this is impossible, but here is an impossible situation. Man has tried to control this guy. He's broke, they've tried to chain him, they've tried to capture him, they've tried to silence him, and nothing has worked.
Yeah.
He's broken the chains, and so now Jesus enters in another impossible situation.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that. That's an encouragement to me.
Yeah.
And it should be an encouragement to all of us, that whatever situation you may find yourself in, even today, Jesus is more than capable of being the master of that situation.
Yeah, totally. So, and I love the variety of that: death, disease, the demons, and the storm, and just talking to a bundle of people, mostly young people this week, that all kind of express the same thing between the smoke and the wars and what's going on to do with some of the decisions our country is making, things like that. There's this threatened hope, where hope seems to be waning, and where people are discouraged and feeling hopeless. And I've just been freshly reminded that we have every reason to hope. And I feel like this passage, one of the things that it does is, and I think it does it on purpose, like there's no other passage about demon possession that's so descriptive as this one. Yeah. It goes into the details, and like you said, it paints this hopeless situation where the people, and maybe some of them were this guy's family or this guy's friends. They would have been, they knew him and had seen this slow downhill progression in his life as he slipped into all sorts of destructive habits, and because of that, filled his life with demons, with demonic activity, and to the point where all they could do was push him off into caves, into tombs, and hope that they could kind of keep him there and try to go about their lives, but in the back of their head hearing the screams and knowing all it's descriptive, but it's descriptive of the hopelessness of us to deal with these types of situations, with any type of sin, with any type of evil. But then I love how this story just starts with Jesus just stepping out of the boat, and it says immediately. And I love that word all throughout the book of Mark. Yeah. It's there like so many times. Immediately, it says that this man comes to Jesus. And it's interesting because Jesus, at first in his interaction, he's not actually talking to this man. No. He's speaking to the demons that are inside of him, and he begins this conversation, this interaction, and the demons are calling out who Jesus is, and they're saying, "You're the Son of God, the most, or the Son of the Most High God," and they're trying to in a way exert their knowledge, their authority over Jesus,
their authority and their power,
and their authority over this man. And even to the point of saying, when Jesus asked them what their name is, they say Legion, which was basically them saying there's 6,000 of us inside this man, and we don't know if that's actually true. I mean, I think the enemy loves to puff himself up and look like he's greater than he is. That there's more going on than there actually is. But they're talking big. They're trying to hold their ground. And it doesn't work, and that's the beauty of this situation and this story. Is they quite quickly turn from that to trying to plead with Jesus, and it says that they're actually begging him. They're entreating him. Another word for that is that they're praying to him. They're asking, please, Jesus, don't torment us. And you think, how can a demon be tormented? And it says that they don't want to be sent out of that region. In another translation, it says they don't want to be sent into the abyss. Back
to the abyss.
And it gets to the point where they specifically ask that they would, instead of being sent away, that they would rather go into that herd of pigs that's nearby. And it just shows us the nature of evil. That evil does not rest. We are commanded as God's creatures, as those whom He's created. We are commanded to rest. God even rested, and rested from His work. The enemy does not rest from his work, and he won't until Jesus puts his foot and tramples on him and totally deals with all of evil. Evil continues to work, even when we rest. And I think that's one thing I've noticed over the last several months is parts of the last COVID season seemed like a bit of a rest, seemed like a break. But I'm seeing that the enemy didn't rest, and there's lots that is going on, but there's also lots that Jesus wants to step into. And so he begs them to be sent into the pigs, and Jesus says okay, which has always baffled me. It's kind of strange. I don't know why Jesus said okay, except as I looked into this passage. And what happens is that immediately these pigs just run off of a cliff. And they all drown in the water. And I think what possibly what Jesus was trying to think, and maybe you guys have a different answer, which would be great, but I think possibly what Jesus was trying to show was just how destructive the work of the enemy is. If it wasn't obvious enough through this man breaking chains, cutting himself with stones, being ostracized from society, then it should at least be obvious to the fact that the moment that these demons entered this herd of pigs, they just ran straight off the cliff and died. That, as Jesus said, I've come to bring life, but the enemy has come
to steal, kill, and destroy.
And that's exactly what we see in this man's life, and that's exactly what we see in this herd of pigs.
And then we see, it's like this guy, I mean, whether he had 6,000, 2,000, whatever, the issue is probably locked into him was every demon you could think of. I mean, that's the symbolism of this whole thing. And yet Jesus comes along and not only casts the demons out of him, but then shows the extent of his mercy. And it's powerful. In verse 14 and 17, it talks about this. It says the man was delivered, and then it says, and he was sitting and clothed and in his right mind. And one of the things that again, going back to this, the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But Jesus comes to give us life. And what he does when Jesus touches our lives, as he touched this man, things change exactly opposite from what they were. It's like a 180-degree turn. First of all, he's running around. He's restless. They can't control him. And now he's sitting. I mean, to me, that's startling. But then it goes even further. Now, I mean, he's running around. They said he was naked. And now all of a sudden he's clothed. And then he was raging and screaming and, all through the night, through the day, and now he's in his right mind. And this is when Jesus touches us, there's a complete reversal.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he wants us to see. If you will allow me to touch your situation, I can change it 180 degrees. I can reverse. It's whatever condition that you were in is not the final answer.
Yeah.
I think that's what whatever condition this man had wasn't the final answer.
Yeah.
It isn't over
Yeah.
until Jesus says amen.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Whatever you say you are, whatever you think you are, whatever Jesus declares who you really are. And that's what I see in this. And you see the mercy. It's interesting at the end of the chapter, Jesus tells him, it says, go and tell what great things the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that is powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And so, we would expect that the people of the village, they're excited, they come out, they're celebrating. But that's actually not what we find.
That's not.
It says that they're afraid. Why? Like, what do you think's going on?
Well, listen,
here?
they're imploring him. They said, get out of our region, get out of our whatever translation you look at, and they just can't handle this. And it isn't about the fact that he cast the demons into the pigs. There's a lot of money that's gone over. One commentary says it's probably 2,000 pigs, probably a value of about $250,000 went down the drain over the cliff.
Yeah.
But that wasn't what they were concerned about. I think what they were concerned about was what else might get exposed if he stood around.
Yeah.
And we were talking earlier and remembering about, the woman caught in adultery is there, and the Pharisees and the Sadducees are complaining, and Jesus starts writing in the ground.
Right. And
pretty soon all the accusers of the woman are gone. And I think this is what they were afraid of, is if he stuck around, he had all the demons in them, but they also had demons in them. Yeah. They had issues in their life. And they were afraid that if he stuck around, the other things might need to go, not just the demons that were in this man. Yeah. And probably it would have affected their lives, it would have affected their business. And so I think that there was, so they began to, the language is powerful here. It says they began to implore him. Yeah. They began to beg him. Yeah. Oh, Jesus, please leave. Yeah. He said, okay. And I think he knew that it was time to go. He had done his purpose, and as we'll talk about a little bit later, now he's leaving. He doesn't have to worry about what's going to happen because we see the end of the story. Yeah. So. Yeah,
it's almost a picture of John chapter 1 where it says about Jesus that the light has shined in the darkness. Yeah. The darkness hasn't overcome it. Yeah. That's what happens here. Yeah. And then it talks about those who live in the darkness, who don't want to come to the light because they don't want their evil deeds to be exposed. And that's kind of what almost what we see, or maybe exactly what we see happening here, that they're more comfortable. They were more comfortable with this man as he was than him transformed, because
they're more comfortable in how they are. Yeah. And not wanting to have anything done to disrupt their comfortableness, even in their sin. Yeah.
Yeah. It's challenging for us. And as I said, the story starts with Jesus stepping out of the boat, and the moment his foot hits the shore, this man comes to him, possessed by these demons and wanting to come into opposition with Jesus and confront him. And the story ends with Jesus stepping off the shore into the boat, having done what he came to do. And this man says that at the end, that he comes to Jesus and he says, let me stay with you. Yeah. Let me come with you. He wants to follow him. Yeah. And there's other kind of stories like this in Scripture where people come to Jesus and say, I want to follow you. Yeah. And Jesus says, okay, do this if you want to follow me. Yeah. And it's kind of like a test, but that doesn't happen here. Jesus just flat out says, no, like, you can't come with me, but He gives them a
purpose. And now he commissions him.
Yeah.
You know, he's moved. They've moved from. It's a miracle. He's moved from misery.
Yeah.
To mercy.
Yeah. And
now he's moved into mission.
Yeah.
And this is what's happened with this guy. And so we have to remember the area that he went to. So I like to think that this is the first Gentile missionary that Jesus commissioned.
Yeah, awesome.
Because, it's startling what he says. He says, go home and tell your family. That's all he said. Go home and tell your family what great things God has done, how he has had mercy on you. And then verse 20 says, and so the man did that and went around to 10 cities around there and told them all the great things that God had done. And it says the people were amazed. Yeah. I believe that those 10 cities were the first, because all the other disciples were Jews.
Yeah.
See, that's amazing for me. But Jesus cared enough about the Gentiles. He wasn't even going to a Jew. He was going to a Gentile.
Yeah.
And he was going to a Gentile area. And now he leaves a missionary there to start sharing. And I'm speculating here, but I wonder if this was the forerunner to Paul's ministry.
Yeah.
That had prepared the ground for when Paul comes. Because we don't know all the locations, but Damascus was one of them. Yeah. Philadelphia was another.
Yeah.
There's these Hellenistic cities. It's sort of like God doing something miraculous in our lives here.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he commissions us to go to Osoyoos, to Penticton, to Kelowna, to Enderby, to Lumbee, to Cherryville, to Armstrong. 10 cities, and start declaring the good news.
Yeah.
Look what the Lord has done.
Yeah.
Look what the Lord has done. And so it's an amazing thing. So I said earlier that Jesus had a greater purpose than just healing this guy. Jesus begins to release the gospel.
Yeah.
And the power of the gospel.
Yeah.
And the power of Jesus into those Hellenistic cities.
Yeah.
Gentile cities.
Yeah. Yeah. So cool. And I think it's not until Mark chapter 6 where Jesus sends out the 12.
Yeah.
And that's like the first time that they've been sent out without him.
Yeah.
And here it is in Mark chapter 5 before that, where Jesus is entrusting a man that 2 hours before that, or however long before that, was a total mess. And he's now entrusting him with the gospel, even before he entrusts his disciples that he's been spending all this time with. And I think part of the impossible made possible in this story is that Jesus not only can set us free, but then that he can actually use us. Yeah. And there isn't this, he doesn't say, I'm going to come back. You wait, you meet me here on this beach in 3 months, and I'm going to come back and let's see if you're ready. Let's see if you've kept the faith. Let's see if, no, he immediately sends him out with purpose. And I feel like a massive part of that is that our holding on to the purpose that Jesus has called us to is a big part of actually what keeps us. And we're often concerned about, well, let's wait and see if this person is still here in this amount of time, or maybe they need to go through a bit of a preparation time or something like that. But Jesus immediately sends him out with purpose, and he's kept. The Father keeps him. He goes faithfully to these places. And like you said, not only to his family, but then he takes it even further than what Jesus initially told him to. Yeah. And it's this idea of purpose. And again, going back to what I shared at the beginning, as I've been talking to other young people are hungry for purpose. Yeah. They're hungry to know what they're here for. And even when I look out at our congregation on a Sunday morning, there's a hunger for purpose. We want to know what it is that we're called to do, and we want to do it because there's life in that. There's joy in that.
One thing, and just to comment that, so often we dismiss or we disqualify ourselves.
Yeah.
I need more training.
Yeah.
I don't know the Bible good enough for it. This man had none of that. He, if Jesus was so concerned about that, he would have taken him with him. Yeah. Discipled him just like he's doing with the disciples, fed him with the parables and
Yeah.
all of that, and then sent him like he, sent him into the ministry after that. But he doesn't. And this is an encouragement for all of us. Just what Jesus has done in our lives personally is enough.
Yeah.
It's enough simply to tell our testimony, to tell our story is enough to bring people to Christ.
Yeah.
To bring people to salvation, to instill, as we said earlier, hope where there's hopelessness.
Yeah.
I could just imagine his family. Can you imagine? There's a knock at the door, and Mom opens the door and says, it's okay, Mom. I'm okay. I'm not
like
weird.
that.
Hey, and his dad comes in. Hey, and everybody's,
Yeah.
Mom runs upstairs to hide all the children because this guy's coming. And here he is, clothed.
Yeah.
And in his right mind.
Yeah.
And that's a testimony.
Totally.
That's the gospel.
Yeah.
And we have that.
Yeah.
Every one of us has that. And in this day where we're hungry to see, and people are looking for something, a message of hope.
Yeah.
This is enough. We are all called to be missionaries.
Yeah.
In this day.
Yeah.
Just declaring, look what the Lord has done.
Yeah.
Look what the Lord has done. There's that old song. He healed my body. He healed my mind. He said, save me just in time. I'm going to praise his name. That song the kids sing.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Jesus is wanting us to see.
Yeah.
He commissioned him immediately.
Yeah. And
sent him.
Yeah.
And entrusted his very gospel to this guy.
Yeah.
And
good.
So good, yeah.
Yeah.
I get excited about
Yeah,
it.
no, I love it. Yeah, and that reality, I think a big thing that a lot of us have been learning, that there is this place to share about what God originally did in our life when we came to faith, but then there's also this place of sharing, hey, this is what God's doing now.
Yeah.
This is, and it's, my tendency is I always want like something amazing, encouraging to share, but sometimes it's the raw stuff, it's the real stuff, it's what we're right now like feeling the pressure and the struggle of. And as we share that with people, Brittany and I were with a couple people last week, and Brittany was just sharing some of her struggles in terms of trusting God in certain things, and this individual turned to Brittany and said, I never thought you would struggle with that kind of stuff. And this reality of we're in this together, this fight of faith, and it brings encouragement, it brings hope to people, that we're moving forward together. And so much of what I've been growing in, and what a lot of us have been growing in, and sharing life with other people. It's about sharing the life that God gives us today, the life that God is feeding us with from his word, and just taking those things as simple and small as they might be. Maybe we look at this story and go, I don't have quite the same testimony as this guy. It doesn't look quite as dramatic and crazy. But whatever you have today, it can be as simple as a simple prayer that you prayed and God answered. To take that and in faith to share that with other people, we will see the impact that makes.
Well, think of that song, Amazing Grace.
Yeah.
I once was lost, but now I'm found. I once was blind, but now I see. We have everyday situations that we're blind to. Yeah. And all of a sudden the light comes changes on. That's testimony. Yeah. That's life to someone.
Totally.
Said, I didn't think this could happen, but look at what happened.
Yeah.
I didn't believe that God could do this, but look at what God did. And I think we've all got a powerful story. Yeah. Yeah. We don't have a legion of demons in it. Well, I hope we don't. Yeah. But we have areas in our life where God has intervened and turned darkness into light, and turned death into life. Yeah. And I think that's what we have to carry. Yeah. So. Yeah, good. And so an encouragement, and maybe there's a different encouragement that's come out for you in listening to this, but where is God wanting you to cross over, like Jesus crossed over the sea?
Where is he wanting you to cross over to set your foot, maybe in on your neighbor's doorstep, or into a grocery store, or wherever it is, to set your foot, and then to come against the work of the enemy, not presumptuously, not arrogantly, but in simple faith in the power of Jesus, and then to speak life into hopeless, despairing situations, impossible situations, and to allow God to change those situations, those people's lives. He is a God that says very clearly that nothing is impossible for him, and nothing's impossible when we trust and believe in him. And there's such hope in that. So let's be encouraged to hold tightly to this Jesus who no matter what he encountered, no matter what came against him, he was able to triumph over it.
Amen.
So be encouraged. We hope to see you this Sunday. If not, then we hope that God has spoke to you and encouraged you through this time. Bless you guys.
Bless you.